find out that you're working with Ben Kingsley or you're working with Denzel.
Yeah.
Like, does that change your perspective going into something? Because obviously you did Safe House with Denzel.
Yeah, Denzel is like is slightly different because he's just, I've never seen an energy like that before. I mean, he's a guy that, like, he can with a blink he can occupy every square inch of a room if he wants.
Have you read the things he said about you?
No.
He said working with Denzel was a sort of a lifetime dream, and he said you're just about the best actor going. And the problem that brought from him working with you was that sometimes when he was in the scene, he would forget to act, and he would sit there and be watching you acting.
Oh, is that what it was?
He would.
I just thought he was terrible.
Imagine meeting your idol, someone whose work first inspired you to get into the business, only to find out they think you're not worth the hype. That's exactly the rumor swirling around Ryan Reynolds and Denzel Washington. Denzel has made it clear on more than one occasion that he's not a fan of Ryan's acting, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Before you assume it's a classic case of grumpy veteran versus charming newcomer, buckle up, because plenty of Hollywood heavyweights, directors, and actors alike seem ready to distance themselves from Ryan Reynolds and even from his wife, Blake Lively.
I think that he wants to win no matter what. He was willing to do whatever it takes to win. He didn't care who he stepped on, who he killed, he would act like a little girl if he needed to. He'd turn around and chop your, snap your neck off, your everyday guy.
From on-set dust-ups to awkward interview moments, there's a rising tide of gossip that suggests the Reynolds-Lively empire might be losing its shine. Let's break down the behind-the-scenes drama, the whispers from top-tier directors, and the controversies that have industry insiders calling them out. Ryan Reynolds burst onto the scene in the early 2000s, quickly establishing himself as a comedic actor with undeniable charm.
In the movie, he has a really an amazing fight. He gave me a black eye as well.
As like a leaving gift.
Whether he was playing the sarcastic friend in rom-coms or scoring laughs on late-night talk shows, Ryan became the go-to guy for easy wit. By the time he nabbed the role of Deadpool, it felt like the perfect match. Ryan's brand of snark met the Marvel anti-hero's legendary sarcasm. It worked.
Just anything I could do to manipulate him, to intimidate him.
Keep him off balance.
Keep him off balance. Yeah, I wasn't there to teach him, I was there to...
Deadpool raked in massive numbers, turning Ryan into a bona fide leading man instead of just the wisecracking side character. Yet for all that success, Ryan's career isn't just about comedic timing. Over the years, he's built a reputation as a savvy entrepreneur with stakes in aviation gin, Mint Mobile, and even a soccer team.
Samuel L. Jackson, where are you? Oh! Samuel L. Jackson. Nah, I'm not gonna do that.
He's the picture of an unstoppable Hollywood moneymaker, riding from one profitable project to the next. From the outside, it appears everything he touches becomes a headline-grabbing, fan-pleasing triumph. But behind that polished image, rumors were already percolating about Ryan's attitude. While fans saw the lovable goofball, some of his co-workers hinted at more than a few conflicts on set. Brief remarks from minor cast members occasionally surface stories of friction, controlling behavior, or last-minute demands.
What about Denzel Washington, working with such a veteran actor? Did you learn anything? What was the takeaway from working with him?
You learn so much working with a guy like him. I mean, not only is he a pleasure to work with, and just to see that somebody can be that passionate about what they do, and they've been doing it for this long, but you just see how discipline really kind of wins the day, and that's what he brings.
In an industry where reputations are built on your ability to play nice, these quiet rumblings stood out. People began to notice that not everyone was singing Ryan's praises. Before long, the friction escalated into a spotlight moment thanks to Denzel Washington. Denzel, a two-time Academy Award winner and one of the most revered names in Hollywood, worked with Ryan on Safe House, 2012. At the time, fans braced themselves for an unstoppable duo, comedic, quick-witted Ryan Reynolds teaming up with the intense, masterful Denzel Washington.
Yeah, he was I call him a sociopath. I mean, I think that he wants to win no matter what. He was willing to do whatever it takes to win. He didn't care who he stepped on.
There was an unspoken hope that sparks would fly on screen, catapulting the film into legendary status. Yet from the get-go, Denzel made it clear that Ryan's presence didn't exactly thrill him. When Safe House came out, Ryan couldn't contain his excitement at sharing screen time with Denzel. He spoke about how this was a lifetime dream, praising Denzel's remarkable energy and on-set mastery. He even recounted their intense fight scenes, playfully admitting he felt starstruck. To everyone following the press tour, Ryan looked like a kid meeting his biggest hero. Denzel's reaction, however, was anything but flattery. In one infamous interview, after being told that Ryan had spoken glowingly about him, Denzel replied with a dry, "Oh, is that what it was? I just thought he was terrible."
What about Denzel Washington, working with such a veteran actor? Did you learn anything? What was the takeaway from working with him?
You learn so much working with a guy like him. I mean, not only is he a pleasure to work with, and just to see that somebody can be that passionate about what they do, and they've been doing it for this long, but you just see how discipline really kind of wins the day, you know, and that's what he brings.
The awkward laughter that followed made the moment impossible to forget. While some fans tried to write it off as Denzel's deadpan humor, repeated instances of dismissive comments told a different story. Even the Jonathan Ross Show moment, where Denzel's face remained unmoved at the mention of Ryan's praise, was so icy that fellow guests looked taken aback. The tension may have been magnified by an on-set accident where Ryan accidentally gave Denzel a black eye. Fight scenes can get messy, but Denzel seemed less than amused about sustaining the first black eye of his career. People speculated, was Denzel truly upset about that mishap, or was it just one piece of a much bigger dislike? Whatever the cause, Denzel kept his distance, never leaping to defend Ryan when asked about their working relationship. In Hollywood, it's rare for a seasoned actor of Denzel's caliber to publicly denounce a co-star. The standard is to shrug off any tension and say, he was a pleasure to work with, no matter what really happened, so Denzel's repeated digs were significant. They signaled that, yes, the disrespect was real. If Denzel had wanted to be polite, he could have easily trotted out some well-worn compliments. The fact that he didn't spoke volumes, and Denzel's not alone. Once more big names started adding to the chatter, it became clear the so-called feud wasn't an isolated incident. Ryan's star power might sell movie tickets, but it doesn't guarantee admiration among Hollywood elites. Anyone who knows film knows that Quentin Tarantino wields enormous influence. He's outspoken, fearless in sharing his views, and widely respected for championing unconventional, boundary-pushing cinema. So when Tarantino gave a lukewarm, if not outright dismissive assessment of Ryan's filmography, it carried weight.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What did you hurt?
He hinted that while Ryan might be cashing huge checks and starring in box office juggernauts, those movies rarely linger in the cultural conversation. As Tarantino put it, they don't exist in the zeitgeist. His statement stung because it questioned Ryan's lasting relevance. Sure, the Deadpool franchise is successful, but Tarantino essentially argued that success alone doesn't equate to meaningful impact. You can bank piles of money, fill theaters, and still not command the kind of respect that endures in Hollywood lore. Then came Gerard Butler, who got downright testy when a reporter compared his 2009 film Gamer to Ryan's Free Guy. Gerard scoffed at the notion that the two projects share any similarities. It wasn't a polite, "I haven't seen the movie so I can't comment." It was more like, "Why would anyone compare my work to that?" He brushed it aside with an air of disdain that viewers couldn't miss. But that wasn't the whole story. Ryan's rocky relationships aren't just limited to co-stars or directors who weigh in during interviews. There's a deeper pattern stretching from the sets of superhero flicks to comedic adventure sand. Nowhere is this pattern more glaring than in the Deadpool 2 debacle that nearly derailed the franchise's momentum. When the first Deadpool movie premiered, it shocked everyone by smashing box office records for an rated film. Critics praised its irreverent tone, fans ate it up, and Ryan emerged as the unstoppable comedic hero of the moment. So naturally, Deadpool 2 was hotly anticipated, with fans expecting an even bolder approach. But behind the scenes, turmoil erupted that took everyone by surprise. Tim Miller, who had directed the first film, walked away from the sequel. To outsiders, his decision seemed baffling. Who'd voluntarily exit a goldmine project? But insiders reported that Tim and Ryan clashed over creative control. Ryan, emboldened by the first film's success and his new producer credit, wanted more say in the sequel's direction. Tim, who'd steered the original to triumph, felt sidelined. In Hollywood, star-driven creative differences aren't new, but to see them play out so publicly, with a director departing at such a crucial stage, raised eyebrows.
I mean, would I work with him again? No.
No.
I would not work with him
that
again.
much vitriol.
But I've said that about Michael Bay, and now we're friends, and I would work with him again. But I think Michael Bay is different. And Michael Bay worked on a movie with Ryan Reynolds also. And so he has a very specific opinion.
That may mirror
of
your
Ryan
own.
Reynolds. And that was a good part of our last conversation with me and Bay. But I sort of wish him well because he's so good at Deadpool. And I think it's weird that he hates me.
Tim Miller later implied that Ryan made an environment where every creative call turned into a power struggle. "I don't mind having a debate," Tim remarked in one interview, "but if I can't win, I don't want to play." Eventually, Tim decided it wasn't worth the headache. Still, Deadpool 2 pressed forward, netting strong box office results. For many fans, it was another comedic thrill ride featuring Ryan at his best. Yet, the behind-the-scenes drama cast a shadow, suggesting that success came at the cost of harmony. People wondered if a project that seemed tailor, made for Ryan Reynolds, could generate this level of conflict. What happened on sets where the synergy wasn't already built in? Now, let's shift gears to a different kind of spectacle. Ryan's wife, Blake Lively, has her own star power, built from her breakout in Gossip Girl and a string of successful film roles. Over time, she became a fixture on the red carpet, admired for her fashion sense and carefully curated social media presence. She and Ryan were the ultimate Hollywood power couple, witty banter online, picture-perfect appearances, and a never-ending stream of playful jokes. But then came It Ends With Us, a film adaptation of the popular novel by Colleen Hoover. Fans were excited to see how the emotional story-linear, raw, heart-wrenching portrayal of domestic troubles would translate on screen. Blake was cast in the lead, with Justin Baldoni directing. At first, it looked like a match made in heaven, but not everything went smoothly.
Well, this is the end of me. This is the moment that Denzel Washington turns me into a liquid.
Rumors began leaking that Blake tried to rewrite entire chunks of the script without Justin's approval. She didn't just suggest a tweak here or a line change there. She allegedly took it upon herself to revise pivotal scenes, particularly a rooftop sequence that's central to the plot. If the gossip holds any truth, Blake was stepping far outside an actress's usual role. Directors often welcome input from their leads, especially if it improves authenticity. But there's a big difference between collaboration and commandeering the script. Insiders claim that Justin tried to be diplomatic, hoping to keep the peace and accommodate an A-lister who could elevate the film's profile. Yet tension grew so thick it began to seep into press events. Blake, known for her entrepreneurial spirit, used the film's promotional interviews to highlight her own ventures, from her hair care line to other products. Viewers noticed the shift. Instead of focusing on the film's deeper themes, particularly the delicate subject of DV, she appeared more eager to plug her brand. Adding more fuel to the fire, she supposedly invited outside influences, including her close friend Taylor Swift and her husband Ryan, to weigh in on decisions that would typically be the director's call. The overall impression was that Blake wanted full creative control, overshadowing Justin's role. Their tensions, once well hidden, boiled over during interviews. Body language experts analyzing events pointed to a clear stiffness when Blake and Justin shared a stage.
Celebrity in public, we only have a few moments to maybe speak with you guys, but for people who see this movie, who relate to the topics of this movie on a deeply personal level, they're really going to want to talk to you. This movie is going to affect people and they're going to want to tell you about their life. So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could...
Co-star Brandon Sklenar, when asked about working with Blake, gave vague, non-committal replies, as though carefully dodging any real critique. Reputation is everything in Hollywood. Whether you're an actor, director, or behind-the-scenes creative, your future hires often depend on how agreeable you are to collaborate with. When whisper campaigns start about controlling behavior or overshadowing your colleagues, people take note. And once the gossip involves multiple A-listers and big projects, the rumor mill churns non-stop. What's intriguing about the Reynolds-Lively situation is how rapidly the mood seems to have shifted. There was a time when they were Tinseltown's beloved duo, welcomed at every red carpet event, praised for their comedic exchanges on social media, and revered for their philanthropic efforts. But now, multiple paparazzi photos and insider accounts paint a picture of fellow celebs keeping a cautious distance. At SNL's 50th anniversary special, for instance, Ryan's jokes landed with an audible thud, and the star-studded audience looked more uncomfortable than amused. Later gossip pointed to A-listers who felt the couple's antics overshadowed the event's main focus, celebrating 5 decades of iconic television. These small yet telling moments add up. When major directors publicly criticize your work, when you lose a big-name director from a record-breaking franchise, when a legendary actor basically says he'd never work with you again, it starts to tarnish even the brightest star. Worse yet, if your partner becomes embroiled in her own messy controversies, that negative energy can reflect on the both of you. Fans might still love the comedic persona, but Hollywood's power brokers may decide to quietly shut doors. And that's what's beginning to show. While Ryan continues to sign on to new films, some insiders claim the big creative minds in Hollywood would rather cast him if they have no other choice but not rush to secure him as their first pick. Meanwhile, Blake's upcoming ventures might face an uphill battle if directors worry she'll try to hijack the process. One question looms: how much of this is true friction and how much is standard Hollywood gossip turned up to 11? After all, rumors constantly swirl about actors and directors who can't stand each other, yet they still do press tours with forced smiles. The difference here seems to be how directly the criticisms came from reputable figures Denzel, Tarantino, Gerard Butler, Tim Miller, and perhaps even Justin Baldoni through indirect channels. On top of that, neither Ryan nor Blake has publicly addressed these controversies in detail. Silence fuels speculation. Maybe they feel it's not worth validating with a response. Or maybe their publicists advise them to let it blow over. Yet every rumor that goes unanswered cements the narrative that they might be more trouble than they're worth. People who've worked with Denzel often rave about his warmth and guidance if he respects you and your craft. The fact he gave Ryan the cold shoulder suggests a deeper clash of personalities or principles, one that might transcend just a single film set. Tarantino's remarks could be chalked up to personal taste, but he rarely calls out an actor by name for lacking cinematic significance. Gerard Butler's off-the-cuff dismissal of Ryan's movies is yet another puzzle piece indicating frustration, or at the very least, zero sense of professional courtesy. Then there's the tension behind It Ends With Us. If the film fizzles upon release, some might blame the controversies around Blake's involvement. If it succeeds, people might wonder if it flourished despite her micromanagement. Either scenario places a spotlight on the behind-the-scenes drama. The more the public learns, the more they'll wonder how these big names will navigate future collaborations. Hollywood is known for its cycles of adoration and backlash. Today's darling can become tomorrow's outcast, only to be revived a few years later with a single breakout role or a big philanthropic endeavor. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively both have enough talent, money, and industry connections to weather a dip in popularity if that's truly what's happening. Yet the bigger concern might be the intangible loss of goodwill from the people who matter most behind the cameras. If rumors of controlling behavior continue, it could affect the directors, co-stars, and producers who typically shape a project's future. In that sense, a star's personal brand can only carry you so far. Eventually, the friction has real consequences: fewer offers, less creative freedom, and a mounting reputation for difficulty. Some fans suggest that Ryan and Blake might pivot to producing their own content, where they can control everything without interference. Ryan already showed he can juggle acting and business, and Blake is no stranger to forging her own path. But the question is whether audiences will flock to these self-run projects once the novelty fades. If Denzel Washington made a cameo tomorrow, would that mend fences, or would it just stir up more speculation? It's also possible that Ryan and Blake will do a candid interview, offering their side of the story. A heartfelt conversation with a respected journalist could shift public perception and remind people why they initially fell in love with these two. After all, Ryan's sense of humor is part of what made him a household name. People might be eager to forgive if he owned up to past missteps, or even poked fun at them in the self-deprecating style he's known for. Blake, too, could address the rumors head-on and discuss how passion for a project sometimes leads to overreaching. Denzel Washington dismissing Ryan Reynolds might seem like a passing soundbite, but it underscores the reality that not everyone in Hollywood is on board the Ryan Reynolds train. Add Quentin Tarantino's chilly remarks, Gerard Butler's open scoffing, and Tim Miller's abrupt exit from Deadpool 2, and you start to see a troubling pattern. Then factor in Blake Lively's rumored script meddling and the tense atmosphere on the set of It Ends With Us, and you have a Hollywood power couple wading into treacherous waters. Are they spiraling? Or is this just another scandal in an industry where drama is the currency of fame? Time will tell. Perhaps the Reynolds-Lively duo will remain unstoppable, propped up by fan devotion and strong ticket sales. Or maybe Hollywood gatekeepers will tire of the controversies, giving them fewer opportunities to shine. For now, what we do know is that these allegations are no longer whispered. They're out in the open, repeated in interviews and public statements that hint at deeper issues than just one co-star rubbing another the wrong way. If you ask the average fan, they might still say, Ryan Reynolds is hilarious, or I love Blake's style. That affection doesn't vanish overnight. But insiders watch the patterns, track who's easy to work with, and steer clear of potential chaos. The more you clash with big names like Denzel or Tim Miller, the tougher it becomes to maintain your golden status. So stay curious, stay tuned, and decide for yourself whether Hollywood's golden couple is still as untouchable as they once seemed, or if the cracks are finally starting to show.